How's it going, everyone? Welcome to my channel. My name is Swanee, and I'm joined by my friend Cookie, and today we're back. We took a little break this past month from making videos since things tend to slow down during the summer with video game news, but we're back now, and to start things off, for today's video, we'll be going over a lot of brand new footage for Star Wars Outlaws. Now, a couple weeks back, there was an in-person capture event where a bunch of YouTubers got to fly out to California. They got to play the game for themselves. Now, unfortunately, we didn't get to attend this event. We did get invited, but we just weren't able to make it, so that kind of sucks. So instead, Ubisoft has provided us with over an hour of brand new, never before seen footage today that we'll be going over and giving you our thoughts and impressions on. So big thanks to Ubisoft for providing us with this footage. So Cookie, why don't you start us off? What did you think of the brand new gameplay?
Well, there's bad news and there's good news, as with any review. I'm going to start with the bad news. First off, one of the big problems people have had with this game from everything they've seen in trailers and gameplay before this was facial animations, especially of the main character, Kay Vess. I don't think that's improving. That still looks bad. She still looks strange. She's got some odd movements and stuff, so that's all still the same. What got a little bit worse is in other characters you see similar problems. In some of the alien characters, especially the more human characters that have more human-like features in the face, they don't look very good. And that is really distracting during cutscenes, especially. It's really not a big deal with the gameplay, but when you get into a cutscene and they look really odd while they're talking, it really can pull you out of the game. I think that is potentially a major issue for this game. That was probably, unfortunately, the thing that stuck out the most to me, is just a lot of that still very much a problem. We got a really good look at stealth this time around. There was a ton of different scenarios where you'll see stealth in the gameplay in the background here. So clearly it's a major part of this game, and it's a little, overall, I would say, disappointing. I think there are some things about it that look good, and there's more things about it that don't look good. It looks very kind of cookie cutter. We've seen this before. Not very creative in the ways that you can kind of distract guards and sneak around them. And the takedowns look very kind of janky. They look awful. I don't understand. Like, they just look kind of comically unrealistic. Like, these guys with these, like, super helmets on, and she just comes up and punches him in the face, instantly knocks him out. I mean, she's not, like, you know, the Hulk. It just, it looks really bizarre seeing her do that. It's not creative. Like, she doesn't try to, like, neck pinch him or something, which I feel like would be a little bit more realistic. Overall, it just looks strange. And it also looks strange that it makes no noise, because that would definitely make a lot of noise. A lot of that kind of stuff looks weird to me. So that would be another thing. And the other thing I really want to point out as far as a negative from this gameplay is they have, I always call it I'm sure there's a better name for this. I always call it like the Red Dead Redemption thing with the red eye, which at least I think became popular with Red Dead Redemption, where, you know, you freeze time and you point onto a couple of targets and then it goes back in normal time and you shoot all the targets, in case you don't know what I'm talking about. I don't think that looks good the way they did this in this game. It almost looks like it's too easy. Like, you just do that, easily kill everybody and move on. At least the way they make it look in the gameplay. And I really don't like the way it looks when she's on the speeder bike and doing it, because you can't even see what you did. I find both of those to be kind of concerning. So as far as bad news is concerned, those are three things I definitely noticed from the gameplay I would put under the category of that doesn't look good, and I'm concerned about that moving forward.
Okay, so I take it we're talking about the bad things first, and we'll talk about the things that we'd like later.
Let's get the negatives out of the way. Let's get the bad news out of the way.
Rip the Band-Aid off. So I agree with you on pretty much everything you said. In my notes here, based off of all the gameplay that we've seen, I agree. There's a lot of things like the facial animations. I'm getting a lot of Mass Effect Andromeda vibes, where everybody basically canceled the game because the animations were so bad. Some of these facial animations are awful, and the hair physics also look pretty awful. There's a lot of cutscenes that I've seen where her hair just looks like it's 10 to 20-year-old tech with the hair graphics. It reminds me of like Star Wars Battlefront 2015 Chewbacca, if anyone remembers that. Like, he looked awful. So I'm not too impressed with that. Now, as for like the scenery and stuff, I think it looks good. But as for the character models, there's something off. And like, same goes with like the lighting. There's a lot of scenes where I notice where like light shining on the character, and there's like an outline over the character of light, and it looks just wonky and grainy. There's a lot of like graininess and choppiness to the cutscenes and to the gameplay. So this is stuff that they could potentially iron out, eventually, maybe. But based off of every video game I've played in the past, that stuff doesn't normally get fixed. That's kind of baked in there pretty deep. So I'm pretty concerned about that. But then, like you talked about with the stealth gameplay, all we saw in this gameplay that we got in this whole additional hour was stealth gameplay. And every time there was stealth combat, they would go in, they would take out maybe 3 or 4 enemies, and then the entire encounter would be over. And that has me a bit concerned. Like, I was kind of honestly bored watching all this stealth gameplay because I wanted them to so badly to just engage in combat and see if they would like call reinforcements. Like, I want to see all the different weapons and blasters, and I want to take on like 10 to 20 guys at a time. Because like you said, when you enter that like Red Dead, like Deadeye mode, you can take out all 4 enemies in one shot, and that just doesn't look very fun. If you could kill all the enemies in one go, and then the entire encounter's over. So, yeah, I agree with you with a lot of those points.
Yeah, because, like I said, the majority is stealth. There's very, very little that they show of actual combat. And when they do show actual combat, the only thing they show is the red eye effect. There's no, like, normal just fighting it out and taking them out one by one. So it's kind of odd that we don't get any gameplay of that. We got some in gameplays in the past and stuff. But, yeah, as far as the gunplay, we really don't learn anything from this. We've learned very, very little about how good the gunplay is in this game. So it's a little hard to comment, I guess, on that. What we've seen in the past, I haven't been that impressed. So overall, the combat not looking special, looking very common to what we've seen before. I kind of said how the stealth is kind of cookie cutter. There's a lot of different elements of this game look very cookie cutter. They look very much like I've seen this before. They're not breaking any new ground here. I mean, in fact, it looks very, very similar to the Jedi games from Respawn, which also took a lot of stuff from other games before them. I don't see anything that's unique here in the stealth, in the way that you traverse the environment. There isn't a lot of unique options that this game is bringing forth, which is concerning. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it just kind of looks like you could probably play other games and you've kind of played 80% of this game.
Yeah.
Just doing stuff in other games.
Like the climbing and the traveling. Like she has a little grapple hook and she can climb up walls and does a lot of like parkour. We've seen that a million times in other games. The stealth, the AI seems very, very dumb. Sometimes because there's no in between. It's like you can set off an explosion and no one seems to know that explosion went off and killed their friend, or you alert like everyone all at once, and it just doesn't look that impressive. Same thing goes for the little buddy, the alien, Nix. Mm-hmm. Nix just seems like another BD1. I don't really like Nix because it seems like Nix can do everything. Like you can have Nix unlock doors and unlock puzzles and distract enemies and then straight up take out enemies, and it's like Nix can just do pretty much everything for you, and I feel like Nix is just there to kind of sell toys. It doesn't. I don't really like.
There's been a lot of that going on with Star Wars recently. It's just having the cute little thing that goes along with it, but doesn't really add much. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say they don't add much because Nix is kind of a superhero in this game. Apparently, he can do everything, like you said. It's also annoying that like everything seems to be like there's always a vent. Just go through the vent. There's not another creative way to get around. It's like, here's a new vent, and now here's another vent. Mm-hmm. It's just not, it doesn't, and this is in the gameplay where I would think they're trying to impress us, so you would think it would get maybe even a little bit worse when you actually play it. So that's kind of concerning too, from a different perspective.
And with this new gameplay and all the other gameplay we've seen previously, everything kind of looks the same. Like you said, we just climbed through vents, and we've seen a couple different planets in action now, and a few different scenarios of different fights going on, and every time it feels like it's kind of the same exact environment, just copy paste on every planet that we visit. Like you go through a vent, you sneak up on some enemies, you kill 2 or 3 of them, you unlock a door, and then you get out of there. And we saw that like over and over and over again, and it kind of looks repetitive based off of the gameplay we've seen so far.
That kind of concerns me more than anything else, is that this is just going to be a fairly boring, straightforward, you've already played this game before kind of game. And that's a big concern. I think that actually segues pretty good into what I would say is the biggest potential positive for this game, which is the one thing that I think would potentially separate this game from every game that's come, I don't know about every game that's come before it, but definitely at least every Star Wars game that's come before it, and that's the reputation system. In the first batch of footage we got in trailers and stuff, they touched on the reputation system, but now this gameplay really goes a lot deeper into showing what it's like to make different choices for which faction you want to support and which faction you don't, and what it looks like when you get certain jobs from certain factions and what the stores look like. It gives you a lot more of all of that kind of stuff, so we get a better idea of what that's like. It looks potentially really, really cool. It just depends on how it handles the consequence system, because there's lots of choices you can make that'll make one faction happy and one faction unhappy. It depends how far they go with that stuff. Like, will they actually make it really cost you? Are you really going to have to make important choices here, or is it not really going to matter in the end? I think that's going to be vital to this game and how successful it is, because that's the one part that really excites me and could be really, really cool. I love the idea of having to work with factions and work behind the back of factions, and that really gets the whole bounty hunter kind of smuggler thing going.
Yeah, and I agree with you. This part had me interested as well, and I actually thought what we saw in this gameplay was pretty cool, because there was a number of different missions that they showed us where at some point you got either double crossed, or there was like a special NPC you had to talk to, and you had to make some sort of very important decision, and depending on which one you chose, depends on if you get more points towards the Hutt cartel or the Syndicate or the Crimson Dawn. And like you said, like if our choices matter, and if I decide to go all in on the Hutt cartel, I don't want to get to the end of the game and then suddenly the Crimson Dawn likes me anyway, and I don't want like every faction to have similar rewards. I want it to actually matter. Like maybe the Hutt cartel offers some sort of upgrade that the other two factions can't give you. So your choices actually matter, and that gives us some variety, and maybe I'll want to play the game a second or a third time to play with the other factions and see what cool rewards they have, or if there's a new game plus.
Yeah, replayability definitely matters with the faction systems, potentially. And again, that depends on how much that really impacts the whole experience. Like, if me and you both play it, do I have a completely different experience than you do because of the reputation system?
Yeah, I think that's going to determine if this game is memorable or if we're just going to forget about it in like a week or two. If this faction system is good, I think, this will be a pretty fun game.
Yeah, I think it all rests on that. And based on the footage, it looks like it definitely could be. It looks like there's some creativity there. Like, that's the part of the game that really feels, okay, this is new, this is interesting, this is creative. I think that's the part that shines through in this footage by far the most, and I hope it lives up to what it looks like it could definitely be.
Yeah, I want some Mass Effect style or some like Baldur's Gate style choices where my choice actually matters and holds weight to it. I don't want these like fake choices where it doesn't matter by the end of the game.
I also want there to be some creativity where it's not just straight up, this place hates you for doing this and this place likes you. I hope there's a little bit of variety. Like, if you could maybe go after the Crimson Dawn, but if you actually do it sneakily and they don't catch you, it doesn't affect your reputation at all. Like, that would be creative. That way, it's not just a net negative, net positive. You could actually, if you were creative, make just a positive or just a negative if you screw it up and now both factions hate you. I think that would add to it too, that it's not just straight up bad and good every single time.
Yeah, it would be
there's
cool.
There's variety to it.
It would be cool if you could get multiple factions to like you, but it had to be like very difficult, and it would depend on your choices to get that far. So yeah, I agree.
The other thing I really liked about this game is something you touched on, which is that the environments look really good. And I do think they look really good. And it's different planets, different like inside, outside. I like the environments. They feel pretty alive. I think the outside environments, kind of rightfully so, look a little dead because you're out in the middle of nowhere. But I do hope there's a little bit more there. It's just a little hard to tell from the footage we have. But the inside environments where people are in the cities and towns and stuff, they do seem alive. And I think that looks really good. And kind of going along with that, I kind of like the speeder bike as far as just traveling with it. It looks kind of fun. It looks kind of nice to just ride on it. That part of it looks kind of cool to me. And that's not something we've gotten to do a lot in Star Wars games.
Well, I mean, this is the first like open world Star Wars game, as they claim. So yeah, which kind of segues me into one of the parts that I'm really looking forward to, and that's just exploring. this game doesn't look perfect, but it is a Star Wars game, and I love exploring, and I love exploring the Star Wars universe. And it looks like this game is going to be a ton of fun when it comes to that, like just going to the different cities and going to all the different merchants and talking to aliens and, you know, just riding your speeder bike and going out in the open world. And that's something we have not seen very much about, is the open world stuff. Like, I don't know what you could even do in the open world, just other than drive your speeder around from point A to point B. I don't know if there's like hidden collectibles in the environment, but I'm excited to explore it. It looks fun. The graphics, like all the different scenery and the plants and the buildings, it all looks like it's going to be a just super fun to turn your brain off and explore in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think they showed a very super short like scene of her getting something for Nyx, which I'm assuming was like a side mission, where there's probably Nyx side missions where he, I don't know, smells something and you go chase it or something. I think there'll be a lot of those kind of side missions that all go under different themes, kind of like the Spider-Man games, for example, do that kind of stuff. That's my guess, but you're right, they don't show a lot of that, so it's a little hard to tell how open this world's gonna be.
Yeah, so overall, I'm still excited for it because it is a Star Wars game, and I love Star Wars to death. I've loved Star Wars forever, and I play pretty much every new Star Wars game that comes out, and I'm excited to explore and do all these different missions and stuff, but it does look a little rough in some places, and if I had to guess, just based off of everything I've seen so far, this probably looks like it's going to be like a 6 out of 10 game. It's not going to be a game of the year or anything. It's just going to be a fun game that you pick up and just have fun with Star Wars. I wouldn't expect anything groundbreaking from this game, but I mean, I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think everything relies on their reputation system, but I also think that facial animations might turn off so many people, they might not even give the game a chance, which is kind of what happened with Andromeda, because, I mean, that wasn't an awful game by most people that actually kept playing it, but they couldn't get past the faces, and it sunk the game.
It does kind of get you out of the immersion when the faces look that bad.
Yeah, cutscenes are rough.
All right, well, that is going to do it for our thoughts on the brand new footage that was just released for Star Wars Outlaws. Let us know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Are you guys going to be picking up Star Wars Outlaws? Any and all comments are welcome. And if you're new here, consider hitting the subscribe button and hitting the bell for notifications. That way you don't miss out on any future videos. And that is going to do it for us, and we will talk to you all in the next video.